Hi, Megan.
Hi Kent, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So good to
Happy
see
to be
you.
here. You too.
So for those who might not know, my name is Kent Berkman. I am a rising junior in Krannert, double majoring in marketing and Spanish. Megan, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, share what year you graduated from Krannert, and then what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I graduated last May from Purdue with a major in accounting and a minor in psychology. And I'm currently working at BKD as an audit associate. And I started there last September. So it's been about 9 months now that I've been here.
That's awesome. So as a recent alum, you probably have a lot of good experiences that current and prospective students would love to hear.
hmm
So I know it's been a lot of time for the both of us actually, but I was wondering if you remember your high school visits to Purdue and what made Purdue stand out for you, and specifically Krannert.
Yeah, so I think my first visit to Purdue, I think me and my parents just went over for like a day trip. We didn't have like a tour scheduled or anything. But we just went over to walk around. And I really, really liked the campus. It was super pretty. They had like flowers everywhere. And we walked into the business school just so I could see what it was like. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, like you're thinking about coming to Krannert. This is awesome. Like, what do you think of majoring in? So everyone was super welcoming. And I think that's when I was a sophomore in high school. Um, so that was a long time ago. But junior year of high school, I went for an actual visit. And the business school, I think my favorite part was how warm and welcoming the people were. The courses that I would get to take in accounting sounded really fun. There was a lot of Excel courses. I really love Excel, so that was a plus for me. But ultimately, I was deciding, I think, between Purdue and the University of Illinois. And I ended up choosing Purdue just because of the atmosphere of the business school and just the people that I met there and the programs that they offered. So,
I remember touring in high school, even though it was a couple of years ago. Um,
I,
but I think the people definitely set the school apart for sure.
yes.
There were a couple other things that set it apart from the crowd, but the people that you find at Purdue are not something you can find anywhere else for sure.
hmm And you're coming a little farther away from Florida too.
Yeah, right. It's true. Since I was
Yeah.
coming from Florida, I knew I wanted winter, so that was a bonus too, just to
Yes.
have some seasons in there in the mix.
hmm
Um, do you have a favorite Purdue memory?
Oh gosh. Well, there's a ton. I'm trying to think. I think one of my favorites, I'm a huge basketball fanatic. So me and my friends actually camped out for the IU Purdue Big Ten basketball game my sophomore year. And we got to sit like down in the front row. And that was super duper fun. I'd never been
That's
that
awesome.
close to the court before. So that was one of my favorite memories. And then Krannert memories, I guess. I just got to get involved with the ambassadors throughout all my 4 years, and I just made a ton of friends that way. We got to do a ton of fun activities, community service activities. We hung out together. It was just all around a good time. So
It's hard to have a bad time at Purdue, isn't it?
I was gonna say, do you have a favorite memory
Um,
so far?
yes, there's tons. It's hard to pick one.
I know.
My favorite would probably have to be storming the football field when we won against Ohio State.
I know. I wasn't at that game. I'm so
Uh,
mad.
that was such a great game, and it was just crazy to be there. It's like a once in a lifetime experience.
hmm
Um, but I think I'd have to agree with you for the Krannert experience. Just getting involved and getting to network and meet fellow students that way, even like your freshman year, it's just a great experience overall.
Yes, I agree.
So you mentioned ambassadors. Was there anything
hmm
else you were involved in, like within Krannert or Purdue overall?
So I had a couple jobs also within the business school. So I worked in the dean's office and I also worked with the external relations department, and I got to help put on a lot of like the Krannert alumni events, which was really fun. And I got to know a lot of the alumni that way. And then working in the dean's office, I got to know a lot of the students better and a lot of the staff in Krannert. So I think that was a really good experience for me just to get to know everyone and know the ins and outs of the business school and how all the alumni are doing, which is kind of cool and kind of weird now that I'm an alumni because I don't feel like I should be.
So I know a lot of high school students like would obviously like to work during college just because you can get money that way. But they might not know if they can do that and manage their classwork. How did you find that balance?
So I think for me, I was really looking for a job, which I feel like the Purdue as a whole does a good job with this. That would allow flexibility just because you are at school to study.
Right.
But my job was only during the week, and I could switch my hours around depending on my class time. So just in case I had a test one day, they'd be like, okay, just come in like 2 hours the other day. So I feel like just finding a job that works for you, there's a lot of campus jobs, and I feel like they're usually very flexible with your study hours and picking up shifts at different times in case you need to study one day. So I think just finding what works for you, less hours, more hours, whatever, that helped a lot.
I have an on-campus job too. I actually work with the School of Languages and Cultures now as like a marketing
Oh,
intern with
really?
them. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I actually really enjoy it. And just like your job, they're really flexible with me and they know
Mm-hmm.
that school is the number one priority and then work comes second, which is really great. You know, most
Yeah,
jobs aren't like that.
right. In college, it's definitely important to have that.
For
So.
sure. I know that you also did a study abroad during your time at Purdue. Could you
Mm-hmm.
share a little bit with us about like where you went and that overall Purdue or that overall experience?
Yes. So I went to Siena, Italy for a month after my freshman year. And I went with, I think, 25 of our other classmates. And then there was a couple students actually from Italy that were in our classes too,
Oh,
which was
cool.
awesome. But we were over there for 4 weeks. I got to take two classes and I got 6 credit hours with those two classes. Um, and at the same time, we go from class from about 9 to 1 every day. And then we'd have the whole rest of the day to study, finish homework, and explore Italy.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so I think every weekend we'd travel somewhere different. I went to Florence, Cinque Terre, this little town where we went hiking. So it was all a lot of fun. I got to meet a ton of other students after freshman year. It was good to meet some other friends and new friends from this experience. And I still keep in touch with a lot of them. So
That's
that was a
great.
fun experience.
And I know that the way the Krannert study abroad works for those May semesters, you get to take those two courses like you mentioned, and one of them is actually taught by a professor in that country, right?
Yes, so I had Kara Putman who came from Krannert with us, and then we also had a professor from the University of Siena teaching us the second course. One was Legal Foundations of Business, with which Kara Putman taught, and then the other one was a marketing course, which the Italian professor taught. So,
Cool.
hmm
So you mentioned that you're with BKD now.
yes.
Are you working remote still, or are you back in office?
I am still working remote. They're currently working on a phase-in process for us to hopefully get back in the office soon, but I don't think we're wanting to rush anything.
That's
Just
smart.
trying to be safe. So, yeah,
Right.
currently working from home, spending some time with my new puppy. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
How have you found that working from home to be like productivity wise and being able to meet with your boss and your peers?
Honestly, for me, it's been working out really well. So in public accounting, you're a client-based industry. So basically when you're at the client, you're there and you're available to ask them questions whenever you need to. So I think that part has been a little harder because you have to communicate via email and
Right.
find time to schedule calls with them. But other than that, I feel like I've been more productive because it's usually pretty quiet here. And I just kind of grind out my work
Get
during
in
the
the
day.
zone.
Yeah. And there's not many distractions or people around me. So it's been good, but I guess definitely more conference calls, definitely more emails, all of that type stuff. But I feel like I'm in a pretty good job to be able to work from home, and I am very lucky that I am able to work from home during this time.
For
So,
sure.
hmm
Purdue actually had their students go online for the end of the semester. I don't know if you heard
I
that.
saw that. Yeah. How's
So
that
I
going?
finished up my semester online with every other Purdue student, and we
Yeah.
actually took our finals online too.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
crazy to think about. But I don't know how well you can replace the in-class experience with an online class,
It's
no
definitely
matter how much
hard.
time you're given. But the
Mhm.
amount of time that Krannert had to change to an online system,
Mhm.
it actually went really well, I think.
You
And they did that transition super great, which was awesome.
have you heard of what Purdue's doing for the fall yet?
So they have that new Safe Campus Task Force. Have you heard about that?
I have not. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. So Dean Hummels, the dean for Krannert, is
Mhm.
actually the co-chair for it. And it's a task force created by President Daniels to try
Mhm.
to like address new changes that will come to campus and how we're responding and when we go back and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I've been speaking with him on these Instagram lives every other Thursday. And he kind
Okay.
of gives us updates on that. And then next week, actually, we have a chat with him about what changes to expect for the fall on campus.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
crazy
Crazy
stuff.
time. I know.
Yeah. Um, so with your job at BKD, even
Mhm.
before COVID and working remote and everything, as a full-time job, what do you think are the best and worst parts of it?
So I think starting off with the best, I really enjoy all of the people that I'm working with, whether it be my coworkers or working with my clients. It's been really interesting. I'm on a ton of different clients, like one week you're on one client, one week you're on another. And I get to go and meet new people, learn about their business, and just see the way they do things. And I think it's kind of cool being in a mid-sized firm because you get to experience a lot of areas and get to see the insides of like different types of businesses. So that's been really cool getting to know my clients. And then all of the people that I came in and worked with have been awesome. I think I wouldn't say the worst part, but I'd say one of the more difficult parts for me was getting used to the busy season. So in public accounting from January to like April, like beginning of April, we have a busy season where we have all 12/31 year ends and finishing up those audits. And I think I knew it was going to be busy, but nothing can really prepare you for that until you've experienced it. So I was definitely working a lot, but along with that I got to learn a ton of new things. I'd never seen a ton of audits all the way through before, so that was really cool to see. Even though it's taking a lot of time, I probably learned more in that whole busy season that I've learned in my whole 9 months. So it was very, very cool to see audits all the way through and that type of stuff. So.
That's awesome. And was
Mhm.
BKD and pretty helpful with that overwhelming experience?
Yeah, so you have BKD actually provides you with a coach. So you get like a higher up person to talk with, and you have one-on-ones every couple months with them just to see how you're doing. And so my coach has been awesome. She's been helping. I asked her a ton of questions throughout busy season, and she's been really helpful through that experience. So whenever you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, you can always go to your friends, other coworkers, or your coach to talk to them
That's
about it.
awesome.
So
It's great
yeah.
that you have a little network there.
Yes.
So I know that you also interned while you were at Purdue.
hmm
And I think you had a busy season internship too, didn't you?
Summer internship.
Oh, summer internships.
hmm
Could you share with us where you interned and how you got those opportunities?
Yes. So I actually interned at BKD, which is how I ultimately ended up getting my job.
There you go.
Um, but it was kind of a weird experience as to how I got the internship. So in one of Purdue's classes, you get to do like a mock interview with an actual employer. And I was originally supposed to do my interview with Caterpillar. That got canceled. And then randomly they put me on a BKD interview with Katie Lenz. And so I went in the interview, did the mock interview. And then afterwards, she was like, "Oh, do you want to come to our summer leadership program?" And I was like, "Well, sure." And so I went to the summer leadership program, met a ton of cool people. And like 2 days later after the program, they're like, "Hey, do you want to intern here?" I was like, "Well, sure." So I didn't necessarily know too much about public accounting before I went into it. But once I got into the internship, it just kind of blew me out of the water how different public accounting was than I thought it was. But it was
I'm
really cool
sure.
to learn all of that stuff. You learn all about like we do 4 main industries at BKD, and you get to see every industry. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. And was that
Mm-hmm.
class that you met that lady with,
Mm-hmm.
was that Management 295?
Yes, it was like 301 or something when I was in college, but it was taught by
Oh,
Jessica
okay.
Chapman when I was in it. I don't know if it's changed or anything, but
And that class uses the KPDC, the Krannert Professional Development Center, pretty
yeah.
heavily. Did you use that at all during your time at Purdue?
I think just when I went in for interviews or interview prep, I would probably just go there, and I did a couple other mock interviews, but I used them for that source in that area. So, yep.
Um, is there any other like tips or tricks that you would give to current students, Megan, like for success at Krannert?
Success at Krannert, just try to get involved in like any way you can. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like being a leader in something, but even joining a club in something you're minorly interested in. I went to a couple call outs even about like forensic accounting because I'm still really interested in that. You don't have to join a club. You can just go to call outs, stuff like that. Other advice, take more Excel classes. You use Excel in everything in the real world, especially in accounting, but I'm sure you use it in any other job. But that's one thing my Excel skills since starting, I've had to learn a lot. So
Even though you took so many courses at Krannert?
I think I
Crazy.
took 2 or 3, but like even if you have downtime, just play around with Excel. There's some online courses, so that's one of my big pieces of advice.
I'd have to say getting involved is a huge one, which you
Mm-hmm.
said. But also just take time to enjoy university too.
Yes.
You'll only be a college student once, and it's super important to get great grades and get involved in everything. But also make sure to enjoy that experience, because it won't come around again for sure.
Yes, I miss college some days. I'm like, I see pictures of my friends, but it's definitely different in the real world in a good way, but you'll always miss like your college days and being at the same place with your friends.
Right.
So, yeah, take advantage of that.
I know, Megan, that you were an ambassador. I'm also an ambassador, which is how we met. Could you share with us a little bit about ambassadors and what we do?
Yes. So throughout my 4 years, freshman through senior, I was an ambassador. And basically, when prospective high school students come to Purdue Krannert, the business school, we take them on tours. We inform them about the programs at Krannert and basically everything they can get involved with. So I really, really enjoyed doing that throughout my 4 years. I got to meet a lot of high school students, and then I'd see them like a year or two later at Purdue. I'd be like, oh my goodness, I gave you a tour. This is so exciting.
Which is always crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's probably one of the best feelings when you give a student a tour and then you see them and they're back at Purdue and you're like, wow, I did my job good.
Right.
But it was fun for me because Purdue is one of my favorite places in the world and always will be. And I just liked sharing that with other students. So it was a really, really fun 4 years. Being with that group too, we got to do a lot of cool stuff and we all became a close-knit family in that group. So.
I love being a part of ambassadors. It still remains like one of the best decisions I've made at Purdue. And it really is like a family. But I've heard that like most Krannert clubs, you really get to know the other people and you get to build a network, which is really great.
No matter what club you join, you're going to make good friends, and those friends will probably stick with you for the rest of your life. So
for sure. You also mentioned that you had a minor or a concentration.
I had a minor in psychology.
So why did you pick that?
So coming in, I was interested in accounting, and my ultimate goal is to someday work in the forensic accounting field in some areas. So I thought just a little bit of background in psychology or that area would give me a little bit better nudge for that position in the future. So that's why I ultimately decided to do a psychology minor, just because I was interested in forensic accounting, still am. BKD actually has a forensic and valuation services department. So starting an audit is a really good place if you're interested in forensic areas as well.
And I know a lot of high school students wonder about leadership opportunities in college. and
Mm-hmm.
what kind of things you can get involved in, and then specifically take a leadership role like director or vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in a leadership role at all during your time at Krannert?
Yeah, so for ambassadors, I was the communications director. So I handled all our group applications. I handled our website and anything that had to do with updating the website, sending out emails, keeping the group informed about anything happening within ambassadors. So I was kind of like the person behind the computer screen doing a lot of those things for the ambassadors, which I thought was really fun, helped me with my computer skills, Excel skills again. And all that type of stuff. But it was fun to be in those meetings as well and get to know the other leaders within the group.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Were you part of the Larson Leaders Academy, Megan?
Yes, I was.
Could you share a little bit about that and what kind of opportunities you get there?
Yes, exactly. I can do that. So I had spinning in my brain for a little bit.
That's
So
okay.
there was a couple events that I went to for the Leaders Academy that they held. I think one was like my sophomore year and one was my senior year. But it was just like a get together. And then the senior year was an awards night, I think, for some of the Larson Leaders Academy members. I know there's a housing for Larson Leaders Academy. There was whenever I was, and is there still housing?
The Larson,
okay.
the learning communities.
Larson Learning Community. Yes, I'm a little rusty. Haven't had my college speech in a while. But I know there's a housing community that you can get involved with within Larson Leaders Academy. So you live on the same floor as other members of that group and you get to know them. You're probably in a lot of the same classes. I know I got to take 2 classes my freshman year. I think they changed it around a little, but I got to take 2 classes my freshman year that were specifically designated for Larson Leaders Academy students. So that was kind of cool just to get to know the group since I elected not to live in the community, but I got to know the students that way a lot better. So it's just a group of more people that you can become friends with. And I thought it was really cool how they did that so I could meet more people my freshman year.
And grow that network early on, which is awesome.
Yes.
That class that they have for Larson Leaders Academy, I think it's called Management 110.
I think it was like 190 when I was a freshman, but it may have changed.
But Management 100, for those who don't know, is kind of like an entry class, just so that you can get yourself situated within Krannert. You can hear about some clubs, learn about the majors that we offer, and the concentrations and that kind of thing, just so you're not in the dark early on. In that Management 110 class is kind of like Larson Leaders opportunity where those students can join and just be with Larson Leader students to grow that specific network.
It was a lot of fun.
Megan, is there anything else that you'd like to add just as we close off here?
Oh, goodness. Well, if there is anyone out there interested in public accounting, let me know. I'm happy to talk to you about it. You can find my Instagram, I'm sure, on here, but I'm also on LinkedIn. But if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out. I know it's nice getting a perspective of someone who's been here for a little bit, but who's also kind of close to still graduating from college. So I guess that's it. Do you have any other questions for me?
Not off the top of my head, but thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it. You were able to add some great stuff that I know I couldn't touch on just because I haven't experienced at Krannert yet. But it was really good to see you.
Yeah, spoiler up, I wore my Purdue shirt.
Spoiler up. Before we head out, quick reminder for our followers, next Thursday, June 11th, like I mentioned earlier, Dean Hummels will be joining us to discuss the changes on Krannert's campus and Purdue overall that students can expect in the fall. So that'll be super interesting for sure. Megan, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you.
Thanks, Kent. Good to see you too.
Bye.
Bye.